All right, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Phil Corson. I am one of the senior implementation advisors with RingCentral. What we are going to be doing today is taking you through your end user training, and that is going to entail going through activating your extension and your Express setup, the way you can access your applications that are available to you and getting online through the portal. We'll take a look at your VVX 310 or 300 series phones. We'll talk about the mobile app, and we'll give a live demo after the demonstration or the PowerPoint slide. We'll talk about our audio conference, faxing, RingCentral meetings, and your soft phone or desktop application. So to begin with, activating your extension. At some point, you will receive, if you haven't already done so, an email, welcome invite from RingCentral. It's going to have this nice big giant orange button to click on. Once you do, it will open up a tab in your browser, preferably Chrome. I would recommend Firefox as the second best option, and then Internet Explorer if you have to. From there, inside that tab, it's going to ask you to set up your password. This is what you'll use to log into all your applications with RingCentral. There is some criteria you do have to match for it to save. It will then ask you to create a PIN number for your voicemail. It too does have some criteria as well to be met. It will then ask you to create a security question and answer. This revolves around whenever you make an outbound call to our tech support for technical issues of any kind. They're going to ask you that security question, and if you cannot answer it, they will not provide you support until you can. Just a security measure. It will then take you into your Express setup. It's going to show you your user info and call handling. Now these should be just pretty much a stare and compare, no changes really needed. With your user info, you definitely want to verify that your name, your email address, everything is spelled correct. When it comes to the phone number that's assigned to you, the direct number, if it's not right, that's okay, it's a temporary number. It's meant to be there for testing purposes and a placeholder for when they port in your actual number. So that temporary number will eventually go away. It will then take you into your emergency calling or E911 address. What's very important about this is if you do have a physical phone, that address needs to match where that phone physically sits. So that way, if you ever make an emergency outbound call, the response center sees the address. If they have to dispatch out, well, we definitely want them to go to the right address. Now, if you need to make changes, feel free to do so, because there will be a point where it'll ask you to confirm and change. If you're not quite sure about what to do, reach out to your administrator and they'll be able to help you out with that. In fact, at any point in time that you're not sure through any part of this Express setup, feel free to reach out to them for any kind of help. But I think you'll find it's pretty straightforward. It's then going to ask you to set up your call handling. This too should already be taken care of, no changes really needed. You can just simply click skip to pass on the forwarding step. But let's talk about what it does for you. What call forwarding does is it allows you to add a secondary or even tertiary phone number. So that way, if you walk around the floor a bit and you're not always at your desk, when a call comes into your extension, whether they dial it directly or transfer to your extension, it'll ring your desk phone. Then if you're not there to answer it, you can add a secondary phone number so it'll ring that, like say maybe your cell phone. Or if you're in a conference room, have it ring to that conference room number. So it just allows the system to follow you as far as sending your calls. If you don't answer, it will always go to your voicemail. Speaking of voicemail, this is where you have an opportunity to actually customize it. And you may do so by clicking the Customize button. When you click Customize, you'll then select Custom, and then you'll have two options. You're going to leave it at Record over the phone. Put in the phone number that you're sitting at, whether it's your cell phone or your desk phone, which I would recommend. Click Call. The system's going to call you at that number and walk you through recording. I would recommend that you have a script ready prior to doing so. If not, you can always record your voicemail later as well. So you can skip through this if you're not prepared. It's all good, either way. And this is where it's going to ask you to confirm those settings and make changes as needed. Click Finish Setup, and then it's going to ask you if you'd like to install your smartphone app, which is the mobile app, your desktop application, your RingCentral Meetings, and the plugin for Google and Outlook. If you don't need any of those, that's great. Just go ahead and click Finish, and you will now get this congratulations screen. Again, it's going to show you a phone number, which is your direct number. If it's not the one you normally use, don't worry, it's okay. It will be replaced eventually. Your administrator will be able to tell you when the porting is expected to complete. However, if you are going to log in using your phone number, then this temporary number is important for you to log in until the port goes through. Once the port does complete, your new real number will replace this temporary number. You'll start using that number to log in with. However, depending on how your setup is for your site, you may be using single sign-on, which is just your Windows domain credentials, or you could be using your email address instead of the phone number. If that's the case, then memorizing this number is not that important. And then Go to My Account will take you to your website or your web portal. So logging into any of your applications, whether you're going to the service.ringcentral.com or logging in your desktop app, meetings, mobile, or your plugins, you will use those credentials you created through the Express setup and your welcome invite. When you do go to your portal on your website, you simply will go to service.ringcentral.com. It will then prompt you to put in your phone number or possibly your email address. You will also have a single sign-on option, so you just have to click on the appropriate one. Your extension will be optional, doesn't necessarily have to have it. And then you put in the password that you created with your welcome invite. It will then take you into your portal. From here, you'll have access to your overview, which is recent calls and messages. You'll have your messages where you can go and listen to your faxes, voicemails, texts, your call log contacts, your settings, which is what we're looking at right here, and tools, which is just some apps that you have access to that you didn't download at the very beginning. So with the call handling, that's where you can forward a call that rings to your desk phone that doesn't get answered, but can forward to a cell phone or another alternate phone number. You can re-record or record for the very first time your voicemail and update your extension settings as needed. Your phones and numbers tab, if you have a physical phone, I believe those 311s only have 6 buttons, so you won't really have a lot of options there as far as using Presence. But what Presence does is it allows you to assign team members to those extra buttons, the 4 that you'll have available to you. And that way you can see if they're on a call or not, if you do a lot of transfers to those folks. Call handling is just where you can add a secondary or tertiary number here for call rollover coverage. You can even use team members to cover for you, so if you don't get the call, it can ring to somebody else. Again, before you make any kind of changes like that, coordinate with your manager and your administrator. And then your message and notifications is where you would go to re-record your voicemail greeting and set up notifications if you would like to receive email notifications or even an SMS, which is a text message. And again, this should all be set up prior to, so before you make any definite changes other than your voicemail greeting, coordinate with your manager and your administrator. We also have video tutorials for each of these tabs that will take you through an overview of each of these sections. And you have these little informational dots that if you click on or mouse over, will give you extra details about that section as well. So hopefully the learning curve should be fairly short for you. And of course, if not, if you're having any issues, definitely reach out to your administrator or your manager. Any questions about logging in and activating your extension?
No.
All right. So let's talk about that VVX300 series phone. This is your faceplate. You have your home button, which has a little picture of a house on it. Pressing that will open up your menu. The scroll select, which is the big giant button with a little button in the center right below it, is how you would scroll through all those options and then make a selection by pressing that dot in the middle. You have voicemail button, transfer, hold, headset, speaker, mute, and then your volume control. Now your volume control serves two purposes. When you are not on a call, it will adjust how loud your phone will ring. When you're on a call, it will adjust how loud the person you're listening to is. You do have these soft buttons below, which also provide transfer and hold options, and a couple others. So let's take a look at those. When you're on an active call, you'll see that you have hold, hang up, transfer, and more, which will get you to conference and park. Now, there are three types of transfers you have available to you. The first type is what we all know as a warm transfer. Polycom calls it a consultative transfer. But to do a transfer while you're on a call, you'll press transfer. It's going to prompt you to put in the phone number that you're transferring to, whether it's an extension or a 10-digit number, and then press send, wait for them to answer, introduce who it is, and then press transfer to complete the call. If you just want to send the caller without an introduction, you will use the blind transfer option, where you will press and hold the transfer key until the transfer type window pops up. You'll be able to see that the consultative, which is the first option, already has a check mark, which is the default. You'll select number 2 by either pressing the number 2 key on your keypad or the down arrow key on your scroll select, and then press the soft button for select. It'll put a check mark in that, immediately give you dial tone, and ask for you or prompt you to put in the phone number or the extension. Once you do that, press send, the call's gone, you can hang up. Now, the big difference between warm and blind is that with a warm transfer, the caller ID that's going to be sent is your extension, not the caller's. That's because you're going to be introducing who it is you're bringing on, and that's who's going to be, and you're going to be the one answering when they pick up the phone. Whereas with a blind transfer, since you're not involved, it will send the caller's caller ID. This is hard-coded and cannot be changed. The third type of transfer is a transfer directly to voicemail. You will simply follow those blind transfer steps that we talked about, but when it prompts you for the extension of the number, and you're listening to dial tone, you're going to dial *0, then the extension number. Hit send, and the call's gone, and you can hang up. And it'll go right to their voicemail. Also, when you're on an active call, to get to conferencing, you'll press the more key and then select conference. Now, this is your old school conferencing. So when you're on a call, that's 2 people right there. Press more, conference. It's going to prompt you to put in the phone number, put it in, press send, wait for them to answer. And then when they're ready to be merged, you're going to press more and then conference again. And now you have 3 callers on that call. You can repeat that 3 more times for a total of 6 callers on the call, you and 5 others. Now, call park you may not use at all, but what it does is it allows you to park a call on a virtual line in the background. And then any other user can go to any phone on the system, dial a code to pick that call back up. Now, there are 100 of these virtual lines starting at 800 and going to 899. The code you would dial to pick up that call would be *8XX, whatever the system tells you that it's parked on. It will only tell you the one time when you park it, so you may want to annotate it so you don't forget. But if for any reason that the call is not picked up after 5 minutes, the call will ring back to the person who parked it. Any questions about your desk phone? All right. So let's talk about the mobile app. The mobile app resides on your cell phone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone. This is your interface that you're going to see to use it. You've got your title bar at the top. You've got your categories across the bottom. In this case, we are looking at the keypad for dialing purposes. What's nice about the mobile app is that it acts like your desk phone. So it will use your desk phone's caller ID, not your cell phone's. It does allow for you to switch between Wi-Fi and your carrier in case you have a poor signal. but by default, it will use your Wi-Fi or any Wi-Fi that you're connected to. You can send a text message. You can receive messages, whether it's your fax, voicemail, or text. You can start a conference call, which is that old school one that we were talking about. You can review your call log and look at your personal contacts as well, as long as your company contacts. When you're on an active call, these are the buttons you're going to have available to you. Pretty much the same as what you would use on your desk phone for muting, switching to your keypad for dialing or prompting options, switching over to speaker, hold, park, transfer. You can record a call if needed, or you can switch between your Wi-Fi and your data. Now the title bar across the top is going to represent whatever category you select across the bottom. So if you click on messages, it's going to show you messages here at the top. This little caret will tell you whether or not there's a sub menu available to you. Tapping it will drop down that menu. In this case, for messages, it just allows you to search and look at all your messages all at once or just a specific type. Tapping again will remove that submenu. The square with the pen or pencil sticking out of the top right corner, you tap that if you would like to create a new text message or a fax. The top three dots on the right-hand side is your More option or More category. From here, you can review your calendar or your daily planner, and that's just the Join Now portion. You can start an audio conference, which we'll talk about later. It's not the conferencing that we just talked about with your phone. It's more of a bridge. You can start a RingCentral meeting from your mobile phone, because we do have an app that works with it as well as your desktop. And then your Documents folder, which is where you can download and store soft copies of files should you ever want to be able to fax from your mobile app. Although you could download attachments from your mail to pretty much almost any place in your phone and find them to attach them. We'll talk more about attachments. This icon up here is your silhouette, which is your profile. If you tap on this, it will take you to the screen here. This is where you can make yourself available or do not disturb or whatever you like. You can even edit the message of that status as well. The data VoIP calling is just allowing you to switch between Wi-Fi and your data, setting up your call settings for your voice over IP and ring out if needed. More importantly, your extension settings. If you remember from our Express setup and logging into your portal, all those tabs, it showed you phones and numbers, call handling and forwarding, message and notifications. Tapping here will take you to that interface, allowing you to make changes to your call handling as needed right from your cell phone. You then have your mobile app settings, the About, which allows you to verify your version that you have installed or even check for updates to update it. And then your Logout. Now, depending on the model of your phone and the operating system you're using, Logout here will definitely, for sure, log you out of the application. Whereas on your phone, if you're like sliding or tapping to open it and then close it, to get it off there, it doesn't actually close that out in most cases, nor does it log you out of the app. It's always running in the background. But if you truly want to log out of it, your best bet is to use this Logout. Any questions about the mobile app?
Just one that I could think of. How if we don't log out, if that thing stays active, how much juice is it pulling off the phone?
Well, that'll be dependent upon the battery life of your phone. For me, I have the S8 Plus, and if I leave it running, my battery lasts about a day and a half.
Okay.
Granted, I don't spend a lot of time talking on my cell phone, but it's all going to be dependent upon how your battery can handle that kind of power and your CPU processor, all that.
Okay.
So this is a question. I don't know if it's internal or not. If we already have an account with RingCentral, do we have to go in and reset up the new phone with the new number?
No, when the port goes through, no, you shouldn't have to make any changes. One thing that's going to update is your phone number. It's pretty much like a label in your account. The number will will get the call to you.
If we log out of the app on our phone, does that also, are we still able to have our calls forwarded from our desktop or our desk phone?
Oh, yes. When you set up forwarding, so your mobile app works in conjunction with your user account. There's a first ring feature under your settings, under your call handling and forwarding, that allows it to ring to your mobile app and your desktop app first, then ring to your desk phone. You can turn that off, and what that will do is not allow the applications themselves to ring for incoming calls, but you'd still be able to use it for everything else. Outbound calls, texting, faxing, getting your messages. And that way your desk phone will be the only thing that rings. However, with the first ring feature, you can set it up so that your mobile app, your desktop app, will ring simultaneously with your desk phone as well. From there, your call forwarding would forward to your actual cell phone number, so your cell phone would be ringing instead of ringing with the app.
Okay.
And then at the end, if it rings your cell phone, it's going to get your cell phone message. Whereas if you're using the RingCentral app on your phone, when it goes to voicemail, it goes to your desktop voicemail or your RingCentral account. So that's the difference that you'll see when the users call, when they leave a message.
Right.
If you have your RingCentral app running, it will be your voicemail. It'll be on your phone. You'll get your email. If it goes to your voicemail, if it's just forward to your cell phone, it'll just go to your cell phone. So you won't get the email notification there.
Okay.
Well, ideally, when it does do a forward to your cell phone, depending on the model of your cell phone, how many rings, it may not necessarily go to your cell phone's voicemail, because the system should be retaining it, because it's more of a transfer rather than an unconditional forward from there. So if you do miss it from your cell phone, depending on how many times it rings at your cell phone, the cell phone might accept it, but a lot's going to depend on the number of rings, your cell phone, and the operating system on your cell phone. So if your cell phone message isn't there, chances are the system was able to retain the call, deliver it to your mailbox for your extension. So ideally, that's how it's supposed to work. It just depends on your cell phone itself. Any other questions? All right, audio conference. Now your audio conference, now this is a bridge, really. You can get to it by looking for this icon on your browser portal, on your mobile app, and your desktop application. Clicking it or tapping will open up your conference window. It's going to show you your dial-in number. This is the same for everybody across the board, and this is what your participants will dial as well, including external people. The host and participant codes, however, will be unique to you. Nobody else will have those codes. So while everybody will use the same dial-in number, your team members will have their own codes. You can include international callers by selecting the international participants box, and then you just simply choose from the country that the person that wants to join you is calling from. The invite with email button is what you would click to send out the invite. It will open up your default email. It'll load a template that gives the participants all the information they need to join. You just simply put in the email address of everybody you want to invite and send it on its way. You can invite up to 1,000 people to join your meeting, and that's per user. That's why I call this a bridge more than a conference. The conference commands allow you to manage those meetings. So muting, recording, removing people from the meetings, etc. Now, if you would like to be able to schedule a meeting in advance, instead of having to keep opening this up, modifying the email, click the invite with email button and get that template. Highlight it, copy it, save it as a signature in your Outlook or your default email account. That way, when you go into your calendar and you schedule a meeting 3 days from now, 2 weeks from now, or even recurring, insert that signature, which is that template, and you can send it on its way. And now you've got meetings scheduled for almost whenever you want. You don't have to open this up just to copy the template to put it in there. So all of your applications and your portal will allow you to create and start an audio conference, an audio bridge. Here's a quick look at some of the keypad shortcuts that are available to you for managing those meetings. And again, I wouldn't worry too much about memorizing it from here. As long as you're in your portal and you tap the icon that has the big circle with the 3 and the triangle formation around it, you'll have a button for conference commands to open them up. And you can even record these conference meetings. Any questions about audio conference? All right, faxing. One of the cool features we have is our electronic fax. You'll be able to send a fax from your PC or through your desktop application or through your mobile app. It just requires that what you're faxing, you have a soft copy of, sitting on your PC somewhere or downloaded into a document folder somewhere on your mobile app. Now to send a fax from your PC, you will use your email. So you'd open up a brand new email and you're going to take the fax number that you're sending to. You're going to turn it into an email address, put it in the toolbox, strip it down to where it's just the numbers, and you're going to add the domain at rcfax.com. You can even add another secondary or even third fax number by doing the same thing, semicolon, new fax number at rcfax.com. So the email will always be the 10-digit number of the fax at rcfax.com. You would then fill in your subject line, which is your comments like attention to HR, attention to Bob, etc. The last step is to attach the document or documents that you want to fax. These documents can be PDF, Word, Visio, Excel, almost any file type that is not audio or video. And you can send up to 20 megs total of files. Do not worry about your body text or your signature. That will not be sent. Sending a fax from your desktop app is just a tad bit different in that when you click on the fax icon, it's going to give you a drag and drop box to drag and drop the files to, or a paperclip if you want to attach them that way, kind of like through your Outlook. You don't need to turn the fax number into an email address. You just put it in there and then click send once you have everything attached. And then click send. What's nice about the desktop application is that you can schedule to send now or send later. Your mobile app pretty much works the same way, except there's no drag and dropping. You'll just attach and send it. So again, you have your email through your PC. It's simply fax number at rcfax.com. Attach your documents up to 20 megs worth, fill in your subject line, and send it on its way. Any questions about e-faxing?
On the one from your desktop, can you set it to several different, can we set it to a machine at rcfax.com and then also CC an email address?
No. The destination is going to be a fax machine. That's why you're going to use that. Otherwise, you would just use email.
All right, I'm just thinking of a particular situation.
No, I get it. I understand completely. Yes, sir.
All right.
Now, if you use it from your PC, you could put in an email address and then the fax number, the fax number at rcfax.com, just separate with a semicolon, send it, and I believe it should work, but I would test it. From your mobile app and your desktop app, I don't believe so because it's not using email there, just from your PC.
Right.
RingCentral Meetings, which is what we're using right now. It's web-based conferencing. As long as you have internet, you can connect from anywhere. All you need is the invite. The application, all you have is the meeting ID. But it allows you to share your screen like I'm doing. It allows you to have anybody who's joined your meeting to share their screen, take remote control, or give remote control of your PC. It doesn't allow for file transfers, though. But you can schedule meetings out almost as far as you want. start up a meeting right away with or without video, or join a meeting that you didn't get an invite for, but you have a meeting ID for. The home button is this area here, whereas your meetings button will show you a list of all the scheduled meetings you have coming up, where you'll be able to edit those meetings, reschedule them, delete them, copy them as well. It provides for video, so if you have a webcam, everybody can see you, or you can turn your webcam off if, say, you're working from home in your pajamas. Might be a good idea. The number of people that can join will be dependent upon your service plan. Currently, the service plan settings are with the standard. You can have up to 4 people, but sometime in the near future, that's going to be jumping up to 24. And that's automatic. You're not paying for anything. Premium account will allow for 24, but that soon will jump up to 50. And enterprise is using 50, but will jump up to 75. Now, no matter what service plan you have, we have a couple a la carte licenses that you can order and pay for a single person that will allow them to invite anywhere from 100 or even 200 people to join. Any questions about the RingCentral Meetings app, the web app? All right. So your desktop application, your soft phone. You'll notice that the interface here looks very much like your mobile app interface. Your title bar has options as well as across the bottom. And we're going to talk about what those options are. Here at the very top is where you would go to change your status and get to your settings. Settings from here. So the first item, the envelope, is your messages. Simply all your voice, text, and fax. You can even make callbacks. The star is just your favorites. This is a one-click to call. So you can add company contacts or personal contacts. And you can even send a text message instead of just making a phone call. You'll see the icons here to do so. The clock face is just your call log where you can review all your calls or just the missed. And you can make a call back with 2 clicks, find caller ID. Then you have your contacts, which is your silhouette. This allows you to see both your personal and your company contacts. The funnel icon here is where you would separate between, where you would just look at your company, not your personal. You can add contacts through here as well. Fully editable and searchable. On the personal side, that is, not the company. Your heads-up display. Now, this is a lot like that presence we were talking about. Whereas with your physical phone, you only have like 4 extra buttons available to you. Your HUD will allow you to add a lot more people. And basically, it's just going to give you a real-time status of whether or not those folks are on a phone call or available or offline, etc. And when you put your mouse over any one of these, if they're available, you'll have the option to call or text. You can even transfer to these folks by clicking as well. Now, based on the number of buttons you have available on your phone, your heads-up display will mirror those extra buttons on your phone. So the first 2 positions will have your name because you can't change those because you need them for conference and transfers. But any buttons beyond that, 3 through 6, 3 through 12, etc., those will reflect, at least the first 4, will reflect based on what you have your heads-up display set with. Your dial pad, just for making outbound calls and prompting. And then when you're on an active call, this is what it's going to look like. Again, pretty much the same buttons. The add button, however, is your conference button. I guess conference was too big of a word to put in there. So they named it add. But while you're on an active call, like say we want to transfer, we select transfer and there we go. It's going to prompt us, hey, what's the number you're transferring to? Do you want to do a warm, blind, or send a voicemail? For conferencing, that's where you're going to click on the add button while you're on an active call. It's going to give you, hey, put in the phone number. Once you put the phone number in, call it. Wait for them to answer, and then when you're ready to merge them on, you'll click the Add button and simply repeat that process 3 more times after that for a total of 6 callers on that conference. Texting, you can send a text message to any cell phone out there. Now it's SMS, it's not instant messaging, so you're not attaching any files. Really, you're just sending a text. I believe we can do emoticons now. We have little happy faces and all that you can send with as well. You can pull from your contacts or just type in the cell phone number if you need to. There's your conferencing. It's the exact same as what we talked about before. You're able to include international callers, but you can invite with a text or an email. Any questions about your soft phone? All right, so let me show you my desktop application. Let me just switch to it here real quick. And so here's your dial pad, messages, favorites. It does have your calendar, so you can take a look at your calendar if you enable it. Your call log, contacts, company, or just company. Heads up display, and there you can see where you can call or text. Your dial pad, sending a text, opening up your RingCentral meetings, conferencing, sending a fax, and this is their drag and drop box I was telling you about. Or you can use the paperclip. But you're going to put in the number you're faxing to, give a name, company, and a note, which you'd like your comments. And you can send later or send now. Your settings, we'll just get to your general settings in the background. Unfortunately, it's not going to show it to you, but it's just like almost any setup of any application. Any questions, just reach out to your administrator, or you're welcome to reach out to our tech support as well if you're having issues. And now let me show you from the mobile app itself.
You turned on your video, Phil.
Yeah, I'm going to share from I'm going to share from my cell phone. So it's going to pop up here in just a second. So here's my phone. And as I scroll through, it changes for you. And you do pretty much what you need with it if you need to demonstrate anything. Let's see if we can't find. There's my meetings, second row on the left. RingCentral. Here's my desktop or my mobile app. Click OK. And there you got your title bar. If I click on my silhouette at the top, there's all my settings. I can change my status. I can look at all my messages, or if I tap that little caret, there's my sub menu. If I need to send a new fax or a text. The 3 dots, there's my Join Now, Conference Meetings, and Documents. If I wanted to send a fax, put in the fax number, choose a cover page type, and then when I click the paperclip, I can start searching throughout my documents, photos, Dropbox, box, anywhere they're at. So nothing there. I can go to a Dropbox, see if I have any documents here, if I've got them stored there, etc. Keypad, make a phone call. And I can also change my caller ID. And that's where you see where it says from and blocked with the drop down for that. Any questions? All right, this training session has been recorded. Your administrator will have a copy of that and he'll be able to distribute it to anybody who would like to have it just in case. Otherwise, any questions that come up after this session, by all means, funnel them through your administrator. They'll be able to handle them. If not, they've got the project manager. The project manager has me, so we'll definitely get you guys taken care of. I know I say it a lot, but before I let everybody go, any other questions about anything we've covered? And I don't mind going backwards.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you again for your time and your patience. Everybody have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Phil.
You're welcome.